Olá, Brasil! Vamos começar a nossa live. Dr. Barry is a practicing family physician since 2003 in the US, passionate advocate of health, the most popular carnivore doctor in the world, beloved for sharing about health in a proper way, for his fun way to be and his magnetism. Author of 3 bestsellers on Amazon. This one, the first one, Lies for My Doctor. Lies My Doctor Told Me. And also co-author in Common Sense Labs, Blood Labs Demystified, and Kicking Ass After 50, the guide to optimal health for men 50 and over. All those 3 books you can find on Amazon. Let's bring over here Dr. Barry.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Barry.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for your time, for Brazil. Dr. Barry, a huge country of over 216 millions of people. We feel sincerely thankful for your presence. It's an honor being with you, who has over 3 million followers on YouTube, our hero.
Thank you. Thank you. Nisha and I have not been to Brazil yet, but we're very excited to visit Brazil one day.
I hope soon. Is it a health revolution, right?
That's right. We're in the midst of a complete paradigm change in health. And it's exciting to be a part of this. I know you're a part of this movement as well. A move away from eating factory-made food back to eating real food and enjoying all the health benefits that brings.
Excellent. Dr. Barry, give us a shot of awakening. I introduced about you, how carnivore diet has changed your personal life and your professional life.
Yeah, I used to be severely obese. In the first few years of my medical practice, I was pre-diabetic. I was moving quickly towards type 2 diabetes. And back at that time, I was just eating whatever junk food. I was in a hurry. And so I thought, well, gosh, I can't be a type 2 diabetic as a doctor. That wouldn't look good. I've got to fix that. And so I started following the American Diabetes Association guidelines and what I've come to call the false solution, right? So I stopped eating all the junk food and drinking the sodas and all that and started eating what I considered to be a much healthier diet and even jogging every other day. And after 3 months of that, I rechecked my lab work and I had actually gained more weight and was more pre-diabetic than I was before. And that's when I thought, well, I've got to figure this out. I can't go through the rest of my career being a type 2 diabetic family doctor. And so in my research, trying to figure out why this was happening to me, I came across what I now call a proper human diet. And as long as I eat that way, I have a completely normal blood sugar and A1C. I have a completely normal waistline now. I'm no longer severely obese or even obese. And my pre-diabetes is completely gone. And when I started recommending that to my patients, they started to improve their health as well. And then after I listened to my wife's good advice and started a YouTube channel, now millions of people have used these very simple principles of a proper human diet to improve their health and to keep that improvement in their health sustained over many years.
Awesome. Is there a possibility of remission on the carnivore diet for thyroid problems?
For type 2 diabetes, absolutely. I have yet to see somebody who was eating a carnivore diet, truly eating carnivore, meat and eggs, and not reverse their type 2 diabetes within 3 to 12 months. Now, depending on how long you've had type 2 diabetes, depending on how strictly you adhere to the carnivore diet, it may take a little longer. But we started talking about a carnivore way of eating that we call beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And I know Brazil raises wonderful, delicious beef. In my research, I've learned that. And I think you guys have great sources of butter as well. And so beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And if you eat that and nothing else, then you get to eat as often as you want. You get to eat as many times a day as you want. You get to eat as much as you want, and you'll still reverse your type 2 diabetes within 3 to 12 months. And there's no pill on the market that'll do that as consistently. There's no other diet, no other way of eating that will completely reverse type 2 diabetes like a proper human diet. Now, you can also do a ketogenic version of the proper human diet or a ketovore version. These will still reverse your type 2 diabetes. They might take a little longer. Some people are very happy to eat just meat and eggs, right? And so if you want to reverse your type 2 diabetes very quickly, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. If you want to reverse it, but not quite as quickly, and you love vegetables, then a ketogenic way of eating is going to do the same thing.
Yeah, Brazil is the first producer of cow meat in the world.
Yes.
But it's expensive. Some people think, I can't go through the carnivore diet because meat is too expensive. It's not like that, right?
Well,
we can eat
I don't know. In Brazil, I'm sure you also have delicious pork and delicious chicken. And at least here in the United States, those meats are cheaper. And you can reverse your type 2 diabetes just eating pork and chicken, poultry, and seafood. If beef is too expensive where you live, then it's just meat, basically. Stop all the carbohydrates and just focus on meat and eggs, whichever the cheapest versions are where you live. That's going to reverse your type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely. Dr. Barry, please tell us about the foundation of how carnivore diet is our human identity based on the anthropology, archaeology, human physiology, biochemistry, and biology.
Yeah. So it's very clear from human physiology that what causes type 2 diabetes and many other chronic medical problems is just eating too many carbohydrates. And definitely the ultra processed carbohydrates are the worst. Drinking carbohydrates, either in the form of a soft drink like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, that's the worst. But indeed, drinking fruit juices like orange juice, apple juice, other fruit juices, they're going to spike your blood sugar very, very high. And so what's the definition of diabetes, type 2 diabetes? It's having chronically elevated blood sugar levels, which winds up glycating your tissues and organs, causing you to have a high hemoglobin A1C. That's the definition. And so when you remove the foods and drinks from your diet that raise your blood sugar too high, then your blood sugar returns to normal. That's just common sense, right? And so part of that false solution is, I'm going to stop drinking Coke and Pepsi, and I'm going to start drinking fresh squeezed orange juice or apple juice or whatever, whatever juice. That's just as bad as drinking the Coca-Cola or the Pepsi when it comes to blood sugar levels, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or controlling your type 1 diabetes. The fruit juice is just as bad. And that makes a lot of people upset because they feel like that fruit juice is from nature. It should not do that. Well, it does do that. I'm sorry. And so part of my journey diet that I'm doing along with you and many other people is starting to read archaeological literature and anthropological literature and paleoanthropological literature. And in these fields of study, which most dietitians and nutritionists don't ever think to read, most doctors would never think, well, I probably should look into paleoanthropology. They don't think that. But when you start to look, it's considered obvious, self-evident that human beings for our entire existence on this planet have eaten as much fatty red meat as we could get our hands on. Red meat is the meat of a mammal, right? And so whether it's cows, pigs, or any of their ancestors, and then indeed in both North and South America, there used to be very, very large mammals that are now extinct. And we find that in the fossil record that they were all over North and South America, but they're not here anymore. And many experts believe we hunted them to extinction because we were trying to eat that fatty red meat because our ancestors knew that was the food that was going to give us the most energy, the most brain clarity, the most good health, and also increase our chances of having good fertility, being able to reproduce, right? Awesome. And so when you look at all that evidence, it becomes foolish to say, red meat's unhealthy, red meat's bad for you, red meat will cause this, that, or the other. if that were true, then we'd be extinct as a species, because that was the food that we prized above all other foods. That was and so when you look at all the ancient human technology, and, when we say technology now, we're talking about our iPhone, or we're talking about our laptop. But millions of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, when you talked about technology, human technology, you were talking about stone axes and stone knives, and then in the wood, the research on wood tools. They always call them tools, but what they really were weapons. We're talking about spears, we're talking about daggers, we're talking about arrows. All these things were not really tools; they were weapons that we used to kill mammals so that we could eat them. That's what all those tools were. So all the technological revolution back then was in improving our tools that we could use to kill, cut up, and eat mammals, red meat. That's what all the technology was about. I don't know of any research that has shown stone shovels or stone rakes or stone hoes that we would use to, work our crops with. That came much, much later. We didn't do any of that foolishness back in the old days. We figured out new and technologically advanced ways to kill big fatty mammals so we could eat them, because we knew that was the best nutrition for us and our family.
Dr. Barry, we have watched thousands of people healing chronic disease, immune disease, physical body conditions, including getting free of anxiety and depression. What are your thoughts about the carnivore diet benefits for health, mental?
So the first thing is, what does a carnivore diet add to your nutrition? That's the first question. And then the second question is, what does not eating all the foods you avoid on a carnivore diet, what are you removing from your diet? And so many people think that red meat is inflammatory or it's not very nutrient dense. Neither of those things is true. Red meat's the most uninflammatory food on the planet for human beings. And it's full of vitamins and minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids. So when it comes to body health or mental health, you've got to have vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and amino acids for your brain to function properly, for your body to function properly. And for humans, there's no better source of that than fatty red meat, eggs with the yolk, organ meat, if you like that, like liver and heart and other organs. There's no food on the planet that's more nutrient dense. And so when you start eating a carnivore diet, you're adding all of those nutrients into your diet that your body and your brain can then take advantage of. So when you remove all of the plant foods, especially the sugar and the grains, wheat, rice, oats, corn, soybean, the other beans and legumes, remove all that. Not only are you lowering the carbohydrate intake of your daily diet, which is a very good thing, because one of the principles of a proper human diet is that it's low carbohydrate, regardless of which way of eating you pick from the proper human diet. It's going to be very low in carbohydrates compared to other diets that you could be eating. But you're also removing a large list of anti-nutrients. So, for example, spinach has a lot of iron in it, but it's not heme iron, which you do get from red meat. It's a vegetable form of heme. And also, spinach is full of anti-nutrients, nutrient blockers like oxalates and lectins and phytates and saponifins and phytoestrogens. All these things actually prohibit your body from absorbing whatever is in the plants. Now, some people can eat those plants and seem to do just fine. Other people have to eliminate them in order to achieve their best health. And so that's why there's a spectrum of a proper human diet. There's not just one diet for everybody. But there's no arguing with the fact that fatty red meat is very, very nutrient dense. It's very uninflammatory. So it's going to lower the levels of inflammation in your body and in your brain. And it's going to raise the degree of nutrients in your body, both your body and your brain. And plants don't really bring much to cause inflammation. For many people, the anti-nutrients keep you from absorbing the nutrition that may actually be in the plant. And so that's why everybody needs to find their place on the proper human diet spectrum. And that's the way of eating for their best health.
Awesome. We see our friends, vegetarian, vegan. I already was a vegetarian, and they are getting sick and fat after some point, after some years. They can't eat meat, do many conceptions about meat, like meat cause cancer, constipation, rotting in the gut, or cause heart disease, stroke.
Yeah, there are many misconceptions. And that's why many of my YouTube videos on my channel are just dispelling these myths. You could call them a lie. You could call them a misconception, but they're just not true. And that's right. Exactly. That's why one of the reasons I wrote the book was to dispel a bunch of lies that people believe. Now, I think that you probably can eat a pretty healthy vegetarian diet if you're including lots of eggs, lots of seafood, and then some dairy like butter or ghee. I think you can do a fairly healthy vegetarian diet. Now, currently, to my knowledge, I don't think it's possible to eat a healthy vegan diet if you're not including eggs and you're not including seafood and you're not including some dairy. You're just not going to get the vitamins and minerals and the amino acids and fatty acids that your body and your brain need. It's just not possible. Now, if you're eating the standard Western diet that's just full of potato chips and cookies and Pepsi and Coke, and you convert from that to a vegan diet, that's less bad. And you are going to improve your health temporarily, but that's not a long-term solution. And indeed, I commend anybody who goes from eating the standard Western junk diet to eating a vegan diet, because that's the first step on the pathway to adopting a proper human diet. It's not the answer. It's not the goal. It's not the solution, but it is a first step in the right direction. The food that's sold by the large, gigantic, big food corporations, none of that stuff is going to improve your health. And that goes also for the protein shakes, for the protein bars, for the nutrition. They're like, oh, this bar, eat this bar, drink this shake. That's part of the false solution. They're just trying to get your money. You get your optimal health by eating a diet full of real, whole, one ingredient foods that's very meat heavy in meat and eggs. That's where you're going to realize your best health, optimal health, right? You might improve your health by going vegan from the junk diet. Yes. You're never going to realize your optimal health with a vegan diet.
Awesome. Are there benefits for skin like psoriasis, eczema, acne through the carnivore diet?
Yeah, there are many, many inflammatory phytochemicals in plants. And for some people, they're not a big deal. For other people, they can cause severe inflammation. And I have YouTube videos on my channel about eczema, about psoriasis, about acanthosis nigricans, about keratosis pilaris, and many acne, many other skin conditions. When you adopt a meat-heavy ketogenic diet or ketovore or just a full-blown carnivore diet, your skin condition is going to improve to at least some degree. And some people have complete resolution of their psoriasis or eczema or acne or keratosis pilaris or acanthosis nigricans or other skin conditions. So for some people, it'll only get 90% better, which, if you have a severe case of psoriasis, it improving 90%, that's a big victory. But this is something that's not talked about nearly as much as it should be, because your skin, the largest organ in your body, it wants you to eat a proper human diet, just like every other part of your body. And when you do that, when you adopt a proper human diet, your skin will reward you by looking younger, by being more resilient, by being less likely to develop rashes and other chronic skin conditions. Because number one, you're feeding your skin what it needs. And number two, you've removed the offending inflammatory phytochemicals that could be causing your skin to flare up in the first place.
For those that are listening about carnivore diet by the first time in their life now in this channel, they might think, oh my gosh, this carnivore diet style of life is going to make me have a restricted life.
It's
Do you
going to have
think this
what?
is a restricted life,
Like,
restricted diet?
yes, yes. And so that is a very common complaint by people who haven't tried carnivore yet. They're like, well, I would get bored eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I would miss this other food so much. I feel like that's too restrictive. My answer to those people would be, well, what I consider restrictive is having type 2 diabetes and all the complications that go along with it. What I consider restrictive is having high blood pressure or having fatty liver or having severe obesity. These things to me are very limiting and restrictive, right? And so if I can eat a certain way that improves my health dramatically, improves my health so much that people who haven't seen me in 6 months or a year, when they see me, they look at me and go, wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing? And they're probably expecting me to say, well, I'm taking this new prescription medication or I'm taking this new supplement line. But when I say, well, I just eat meat and eggs and I don't eat anything else, they seem to be blown away by that. They seem very interested in that. And so I suspect that an alcoholic who's very sick from their years of alcoholism, if you said, look, if you want to get better, you need to remove the alcohol from your diet, I suspect that the alcoholic would consider that very restrictive. Don't you? They'd be like, oh, that's too restrictive. I can't do that. Well, I'm sorry, but if you want to no longer be an alcoholic, if you'd like for your good health to return to you, you've got to cut out the alcohol. That's just how it is. And for many people, they are sugar addicts. They're carbohydrate addicts. They don't know this, they won't admit it. But only when they remove all the sugar and all the grains, the wheat, rice, oats, and corn, the legumes, the soybean and other beans, which are full of starches, which turn into sugar. Only when you remove that from your diet does your good health return to you. Well, yeah, you have to restrict certain things to not be an alcoholic. You have to restrict certain things not to be a sugarholic or a sugar addict. And I'm sorry if you're not ready to make that big step back towards good health. But I suspect that if you keep watching people like me and Chrisanne, at some point you're going to be ready to take that big step and restrict the things that were making you sick in your past.
Doctor, Brazilian are coffee lovers, you know, by history, the best coffee in the world, the famosity. How about coffee and carnivore diet? Is that okay?
Yeah, I drink coffee every morning. There are some carnivores who find that coffee, which comes from a plant and does have a tiny amount of carbohydrate, but it also has many phytochemicals in it. Now, some people call these polyphenols or phytonutrients. And for most people, I think that's what they are. Coffee is how I get my polyphenols every morning because I don't eat any other plants. But for many people, they find that coffee is inflammatory, that coffee raises their triglycerides. For some people, it even raises their blood sugar. And so some people should avoid coffee. But most people, I think, whether they're on a ketogenic diet, a ketovore diet, or a carnivore diet, they can enjoy 1 or 2 cups of coffee every morning, and it won't seem to cause any ill effects. I did a 90-day trial with no coffee whatsoever. I did a 30-day trial in between that with no caffeine whatsoever, and I couldn't tell any improvement in my health. And I love coffee, so I put coffee back into my carnivore diet, and I don't notice any ill effects from that. But some people do, and they should probably restrict the coffee as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If the person wants to get started in the carnivore diet, is allowed salami, ham, sausage, hot dog, or are they carcinogenic?
Yeah, I actually have a YouTube video about processed meat and the fact that they don't increase your risk of developing cancer. There's something about plants that when you grind them up to very tiny particles, that they actually become bad, even worse for you, right? So if you eat whole wheat, that's not as bad as if you're eating ultra processed white flour, right? But that same thing, even though most people, it seems to make common sense that that should apply to meat. It doesn't, evidently, because there are even a lot of the devout carnivores will say, oh, you can't eat sausage and ground beef and, ground up meat. You can't do that. And I'm like, why? Where's the research? Show me the research. And they can't. It's just a belief that they have, right? And so sausage, which is ground up pork, you can also have beef sausage. You can have chicken sausage, turkey sausage. It's just ground up meat. It's still meat that they've added a few spices to. That's all it is. And in many cases, the sausage maker or the hot dog maker or the bologna maker or the prosciutto maker, they'll put liver or heart in there because those organs are very cheap. Well, they're actually superfoods, like I said earlier. And so I love it when I'm eating sausage or a hot dog or bologna that has liver in it and heart in it and has ground up connective tissue in it. I hope it does, because that makes it even more of a superfood. I eat ground up meat very often, ground beef, sausage. I think it's very healthy, very good for you. Now, in some, they add a lot of sugar. You need to avoid those brands. But if the sugar amount is very low, I think they're perfectly healthy. And I can't find any research that proves that they increase your risk of cancer.
Amazing, amazing. About gastrointestinal problems like polyps, is possible to get rid of them?
Yeah, well, so what we do know from the hundreds of thousands of people who are eating a carnivore diet currently and have been eating a carnivore diet for years is that they don't produce new polyps. So they may have existing polyps that they developed eating their previous junk diets, but they don't develop new polyps. We know that people who have diverticulosis in their colon from years of eating a junk diet, when they go carnivore, they don't develop any new diverticuli. And they also don't develop diverticulitis nearly as often. And so I think that to a certain degree, you can get rid of polyps and get rid of diverticuli. But the main victory is you just don't form any new ones when you go carnivore and stay strictly carnivore. And then your risk of one of these polyps becoming inflamed or developing into cancer, or one of the diverticuli becoming inflamed and causing diverticulitis, the risk of those things go down very much when you're eating a carnivore diet.
Excellent. We followed this healing in our own home. My husband had every colonoscopy, 9, 10 polyps clipped. But now he got a recent colonoscopy and no more polyps, only one single one, small, very small, also only one. And he got healed of apnea, sleepy apnea,
Yep.
I think it's, and snoring, fat liver, also a gastric reflux. And I got remission of Hashimoto thyroiditis.
Yes. Yeah, it's very common for these kind of chronic conditions to get much, much better or to go completely away. A good way to think about polyps inside your colon, they are basically the same thing as skin tags are on your skin. And skin tags are another skin condition that get 90% better or go completely away when you adopt a proper human diet that's low enough in carbohydrates, and you do that strictly enough for long enough. And so I'm not surprised at all that his polyps went away, except for the one small one. That's a very common story. Many people have chronic diarrhea or chronic constipation eating their previous diet. Some people have Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis eating the diet their doctor recommended. But when they adopt a carnivore diet, all of these conditions get 80, 90, or 100% better. And that's a huge victory for them. My wife, Nisha, actually has Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And as long as she's eating a ketovore diet, sometimes she'll eat more keto, sometimes more carnivore, but it's ketovore. She actually has videos about that on her YouTube channel. As long as she eats that way, her Hashimoto symptoms stay in complete remission, and she's currently not having to take any medication for that. And many other people, just like you, have been able to have that same victory and not have to have the severe low thyroid symptoms every day.
Excellent. And what about sweetness? Keep sweetness in the carnivore diet. Is a good deal?
Yeah, I encourage everyone, because when a lot of people, when they put away the childish diet of, having something with sugar in it every meal, you got to have dessert every meal. That's kind of a childish way of thinking. And now that we're all adults and we're grown up, I think you should put away that childish way of eating. And that means getting rid of all the sugar, added sugar initially, and then later you'll get rid of all the naturally occurring sugar. And a lot of people, when they go keto, they replace that with keto-friendly sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, xylitol. And for many people, that seems to work for them. But for other people, that probably raises their insulin level enough that it lowers their ability to lose stored fat. It may even hamper their metabolic healing. And so many people notice that only when they cut out all sweeteners, even the keto-friendly sweeteners, that's when they're able to achieve their best health. And I don't think that's true for everybody. I think some people can keep having a Diet Coke every now and then, and it's not a big deal. Other people need to get rid of all the sweeteners out of their diet, even the keto-approved sweeteners, before they're going to recognize their best health.
Wow, such amazing awakening you are giving to all of us. Thank you so much for your work, your life, teaching all of us. Brazil is open doors for you. All your 3 bestsellers book are on Amazon, but maybe soon you can provide this one or all the others in Portuguese also for Brazilians.
I would love that. If anybody wants Lies My Doctor Told Me in Portuguese, I would very much like that. That book is published by Victory Belt Publishing, and only if there is enough demand for it to be translated into Portuguese will they do that. And so if everybody just found Victory Belt Publishing on social media and sent them a message and said, hey, I want you to translate Lies My Doctor Told Me into Portuguese, if they get enough messages, they'll do that because they'll know that they can make money off that. But I don't have any power with that. That's the publisher, but I would love it if all 3 books were translated into Portuguese. You guys are a beautiful people, beautiful country. I can't wait to visit and eat some of your delicious Brazilian beef.
Churrasco, churrascaria, remember?
Yes.
In our United States, always have some franchising, good ones. But in Brazil, the taste is very unique.
I can't
wait. You have
to
know with Nature.
Yes, absolutely. We can't wait to visit and try it out.
Amazing. Well, I only can tell you my profound gratitude for everything you do every day at your work, by social medias, inside your PhD community, and among others, carnivore doctors and others, healthcare coaches, therapists, practitioners that are helping millions of people. We are so thankful, and I'm so proud to be part of this team, this family, this tribe. Yes. And I am in your community proudly, PhD community, proper human diet. And yes. I want to announce also that in Brazil, in Portuguese, we are launching our community too, which is this one here. Nice. DADG is in Portuguese, is Dieta Humana Adequada. Proper human diet, but in a version Portuguese,
I love it.
Oh, thank you. You are one of the inspiration for sure, the master inspiration for we support better, in a proper way, the Brazilian community. that will be super useful and help. So joyful to be together in community, helping each other, supporting each other. I'm very thankful for that opportunity.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and anything I can do to help Portuguese speakers or citizens of Brazil, I'm happy to contribute. Thank you very much.
You are super welcome, and please come again to our channel when you
Yes,
have a chance.
absolutely.
It will be a big pleasure for us, and so necessary to save lives, save people's health.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, have a very blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
Everyone, for you too. Bye.